Hi, I'm Jane from TPAS Cymru, and I'm joined today by Tamzin, who is a member of the Residents Board at Clwyd, Alyn. Hi, Tamzin.
Hi.
And I believe you are the youngest serving member of a Residents Board in Wales. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Great. And you were, I think you told me yesterday you were 17 when you became a board member. So quite an achievement. As it's Youth Engagement Week at TPAS Cymru this week, we thought we'd have a chat with Tamzin and ask her a few questions about what it means to be on a board, on the tenant board, what she feels she's brought to it, and also what she's got from being on the tenant board, just to see if we can encourage more people to get involved, more young people to get involved. So Tamzin, if I can, first question then, straight over to you. Why did you decide to join the tenants board at Clwyd, Alyn?
I decided to join the board to be a voice for the younger people who are accessing the services, because before I got a position on the board, there wasn't actually much representation for the younger people. So I joined to make sure that there was somebody who had the experiences and who knew how to best represent the younger people who access Clwyd Alyn services.
Are you the only young person on the board, or are there others?
There is one other person on the board, and I think she's about 20. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, okay.
But so yeah, she has been in the same position that I have been as well.
Okay. So you've been on the board for 12 months now, and obviously, as you know, you can effectively go for 9 years. Do you think you will?
I'm hoping to, yeah. I want to serve as long as I can, and as long as I'm doing my job properly, I'm pretty sure I can continue to do that.
Brilliant. So what do you think is the biggest thing that you've learned yourself about being on the board?
The biggest thing that I've learned is how people orientated the service actually is, and how the decisions are made, and how they do take a lot of time to consider how it actually affects the residents rather than just looking at what's best for them. And I've also learned how to be more effective at speaking in the group and getting my points across, and being able to be a bit more critical of things and making sure that they are what is best for everybody.
Do you think it's boosted your confidence?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. And so what do you think then, obviously you've talked about what you've gained from being on the board. What do you think the board have gained from you being on the board? What do you think is the biggest thing you've contributed to being a board member?
The absolute biggest thing is actually having someone who understands what it is like for younger people going through the service, and to give them the point of view from a younger person. It makes sure that whenever there's anything being discussed, there is somebody from adult, somebody from older, and there is also now somebody who's representing the younger group as well, to make sure that anything that affects them is heard and considered.
So how do you think that the housing services then affect the younger generation differently to how they affect the older generation, should we say? You know, why is there a need to have a younger person on the board, I guess?
Well, obviously Clwyd Alyn houses a lot of younger people for many different reasons, but it is really important to have somebody on the board who understands, because that, like when you get somebody with needs, the younger people have completely different needs to what the rest of the residents have. Like, we might need more support, or we might need to have different avenues to go down and things like that.
So how long have you been a tenant with Clwyd Alyn, if you don't mind me asking?
2 years now.
2 years. So you were only a tenant for a year before you applied to go on the board then?
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's good news. So looking more globally then, outside of Clwyd Alyn, what do you believe would help give young people a voice in Wales?
I think other boards doing what Clwyd Alyn has done and getting younger people on their boards would really help. It helps with the engagement, and it helps to make sure that everybody is being fairly represented.
How did you hear about the, you know, well, I presume you saw a vacancy for the Clwyd Alyn board, or did you approach them, or?
Actually, the younger people, we have support workers, and I'm quite known at Boot. I live just across the road from my supported housing,
Right.
and they actually turned around to me and said, would you be interested in the job? Because they thought that I'd be good for it.
Right, okay. And I think you were talking to me yesterday about, I know you're going to university to do criminology, but didn't Clwyd Alyn have a part in that as well?
Yeah, they did. Every year we have something called a Res Fest, which is basically where everybody who accesses a Clwyd Alyn service comes together, and it's basically like a massive meeting, and we have games and activities and like different stands as well.
Okay.
And one that was there was, because it was based in Wrexham University, they had a student there representing Wrexham who happened to be off the criminology course. And I spoke to her for a little while, and it really made me think that that's what the course that I wanted to do, and that's the way that I wanted to go.
Oh, that's yeah, that's fantastic. You know, this this Res Fest event sounds brilliant fun.
Oh yeah.
So I guess one of the biggest questions that we're asking this week, in terms of during our youth engagement week, we're running daily competitions to for people to enter, to talk about, you know, a change that they've made, something that they've been involved in, or a change that they would like to make. One of the biggest questions we're going to ask is, if you were the First Minister for a day, what change would you make?
My biggest changes would be around education and employment. I would make education and employment for young people especially the top priority. I would also try and make sure that things like university are more financially accessible to people who don't necessarily have the funds, whether that be through grants or loans or anything like that.
Okay.
Because a lot of people do avoid going to university because of the financial side of things.
Because they don't want the big debt at the end of it, then that's going to take them years and years to you know, sort of So well, you've got a platform here, you know, where you're going to be going out to thousands of people through TPAS. Would you recommend being on a board to a young person? Yeah,
for sure. If you have the opportunity to do it, it is really good. Like, yes, there is a lot of work involved behind the scenes, but you can really see how your work is valued and how it pays off.
And how much? Sorry, go on, carry on.
Yeah, and it's like, if anybody's worried about like going onto a board or anything, like, don't be, because when I went, I was really like worried about talking to people, but everybody on the board was so welcoming and so helpful to me, and a lot of them have shown me how to do things that I didn't know how to do.
Yeah, well, it is nerve-wracking. I mean, I sit on a board, and you know, the first time you sit around that table, be it virtually or physically in a room, it is daunting. And you know, the age-old, you know, there's no such thing as a stupid question. You don't want to ask a question in case you feel it is you know, silly, or you know, somebody's going to think differently of you. So it's good to know that you were so supported as being a board, you know, being a new board member. You know, that is great to hear. So how much time is generally taken up by being on the board, do you think, on an annual basis?
It depends really to how much you actually get involved. The minimum commitment is 6 meetings a year, which are usually about half a day. Sometimes they run over, they tend to. But if you get more involved in things, there's different. At the moment, Clwyd Alyn is trying to make more connections between the residents committee and other parts of the services, like building management and things like that.
Oh, okay.
So they are at the moment getting like representatives from the committee, people who volunteer to attend those meetings and create a link. Yeah. So there is at the bare minimum, but there is also a lot more that you can do, which I would recommend doing as much as you can, because it really helps you understanding.
Well, it certainly sounds like you get an awful lot out of it, and you know, and I'm sure that you contribute an awful lot as well, because it certainly sounds like you do. So, so thank you ever so much for your time, Tamzin. That's been absolutely brilliant talking to you, and hopefully it means that, you know, we will start to encourage more young people to get involved and to approach their boards or their, you know, their residents association to say, you know, listen to us, we want to have a voice here, you know, we want to be part of the decision making process. So thank you ever so much for your time, really appreciate it, and best of luck with your future, and best of luck with the criminology course. It's going to be fascinating, I'm sure, and if there's anything we can do to help in the future, don't hesitate to get in touch with us, okay? Thanks ever so much. Take care. Bye.